Ambassador Kim Tae-ho walked through the cold metal corridors of Harmony's Edge Station. His black diplomatic uniform felt heavy on his shoulders. The weight was not from the fabric. It was from the burden of representing all humanity in what might be their final chance for peace. The station floated in neutral space between Earth territory and the Hegemony Alliance borders. For 3 months, Kim had lived here. For 3 months, he had tried to reason with aliens who seemed to grow more hostile each day. His patience was legendary across the galaxy. Other species often joked that humans could negotiate with asteroids if they had to. Today, that patience would be tested like never before. Kim stopped at a window overlooking the docking bay. The human escort ship Resilient sat beside alien vessels that looked like weapons even when powered down. Captain Park So-jin commanded that ship. She had served with distinction for 15 years. Her crew was ready for anything. Kim hoped they would not need to be. A soft chime announced an incoming message. Kim's aide, Dr. Lee Jae-min, appeared on the wall screen. Lee had studied alien cultures for 20 years. His knowledge had helped Kim navigate the complex politics of a dozen different species. Ambassador, the Vorthak delegation has arrived. General Krexmore is with them. He demanded this final meeting be held in the main chamber. Kim nodded. General Krexmore was the most dangerous alien in the Hegemony Alliance. His reptilian species had conquered 12 worlds in the past century. They ruled through fear and violence. The general made no effort to hide his contempt for humans. I will be there shortly, Dr. Lee. How is the mood among their delegation? Aggressive, sir. More aggressive than I have seen before. They brought twice as many military advisors as diplomatic staff. Something has changed. Kim felt a cold knot form in his stomach. In his 40 years of diplomatic service, he had learned to trust his instincts. Right now, those instincts screamed danger. 20 minutes later, Kim entered the main negotiation chamber. The room was designed to make all species comfortable. Adjustable lighting, variable atmosphere controls, seating that could accommodate everything from tiny insect-like beings to massive plant creatures. The human delegation took their seats on one side of the curved table. Kim sat in the center with Dr. Lee to his right and military advisor Colonel Han to his left. Across from them, the alien delegation spread out like a wall of hostility. General Krexmore dominated the alien side. His scales were dark green with battle scars across his massive frame. His eyes glowed yellow in the dim light. He stared at Kim with the look of a predator examining prey. Human ambassador. Krexmore's voice came through the translation system with a harsh mechanical edge. We have grown tired of these talks. The Hegemony Alliance requires a final answer to our proposals. Kim kept his expression neutral. For 3 months, the aliens had made the same demands. Humanity must surrender its outer colonies. Human ships must accept alien inspection at all times. Human technology must be shared freely with the Hegemony. In return, the aliens promised protection from unnamed threats. It was slavery dressed up as diplomacy. General, we have reviewed your proposals carefully. As I have explained many times, humanity values its independence. We are willing to discuss trade agreements, cultural exchanges, even mutual defense pacts between equals, but we cannot accept the terms you have presented. Several alien delegates made sounds that the translator rendered as laughter. It was not pleasant laughter. Krexmore leaned forward. You speak of equality, Ambassador, but your species has shown its weakness repeatedly. When we detained your cargo ships, you filed protests. When we examined your colonists, you asked for investigations. When we tested your defensive capabilities, you called for peace talks. The general touched a control on his desk. A holographic display activated above the table. Kim felt his blood turn to ice. The image showed a planet burning. Cities reduced to ash. Farmland turned to glass. Bodies floating in contaminated rivers. The death toll appeared in stark numbers at the bottom of the display. 2.3 million civilians dead. New Busan. Kim whispered. Yes. Your agricultural world. We conducted military exercises in that system last week. Unfortunately, our weapons experienced targeting malfunctions. The entire planet was accidentally destroyed. Kim stared at the images. New Busan had been one of humanity's most peaceful colonies. Farmers and their families. Scientists studying alien plant life. Children who had never seen war. All dead. You call this an accident. Kim's voice remained steady, but inside he was screaming. Regrettable, but unavoidable. These things happen during military training. We will of course pay standard reparations as outlined in Galactic Council regulations. Dr. Lee gripped the table edge so hard his knuckles turned white. Colonel Han's hand moved toward his sidearm before stopping. They looked to Kim for guidance. Kim studied the holographic images for a long moment. He thought of his own family back on Earth, his wife, his children, his grandchildren who played in gardens that might soon burn like New Busan. For over a century, humanity had chosen diplomacy. They had mediated conflicts between other species. They had shared their technology freely. They had welcomed alien visitors and students. They had believed that patience and understanding could solve any problem. They had been wrong. General Crexmore, I request a 24-hour recess to consult with my government. The general's scarred face twisted into what might have been a smile. 12 hours, Ambassador. Even human patience must have limits. Kim stood and bowed formally. Thank you, General. We will reconvene tomorrow morning. The alien delegation filed out with what sounded like satisfied growling. Kim waited until they were gone before allowing his shoulders to slump. Sir, Dr. Lee said quietly, what are our options? Kim walked back to the window overlooking the docking bay. Captain Park's ship waited like a sleeping guardian. Beyond it, the stars looked cold and distant. Dr. Lee, please prepare a secure communication to Earth. Priority Alpha classification. Colonel Han, alert Captain Park that we may need immediate departure clearance. In his private quarters, Kim recorded a message that would change galactic history. His words were simple and direct, Madam President. I have spent 3 months trying to find a peaceful solution. The Hegemony Alliance has now murdered 2.3 million of our people and called it an accident. They mistake our civility for cowardice. They see our patience as weakness. I have done everything possible within the bounds of diplomacy. Kim paused and looked out at the stars that suddenly seemed less cold. We cannot negotiate with those who see compassion as conquest. It is time to remind the galaxy what humans are capable of when diplomacy fails. I recommend immediate activation of the Sleeping Dragon Protocol. The next morning, Kim walked into the negotiation chamber for the final time. The aliens waited with confident expressions. They expected humanity to accept subjugation as the price of peace. Kim took his seat and looked directly at General Crexmore. The United Human Colonial Assembly has reviewed your proposals and the circumstances surrounding the New Busan incident. Our response is simple. Kim stood and straightened his uniform. Enough. The single word fell into the chamber like a stone into still water. The ripples would spread across the galaxy and nothing would ever be the same again. The emergency council meeting began at dawn on Earth. President Han Su-bin sat at the head of a long table in the underground war room beneath Seoul. The faces around her showed the same grim expression. News of New Busan had reached Earth 6 hours ago. The response was immediate and unified. Admiral Choi Hyun-woo entered the room wearing a uniform he had not touched in 5 years. His retirement on Jeju Island had ended with a single phone call. The old man moved with the steady confidence of someone who had commanded fleets in the early days of human space expansion. Madam President, Admiral Choi took his seat. I have reviewed the tactical reports from Ambassador Kim. The situation is worse than we feared. President Han nodded. Admiral, we are activating the Sleeping Dragon Protocol. You are hereby restored to active duty as Supreme Commander of Earth's Space Forces. Around the table, other officials received similar orders. General Park from the Army, Admiral Lee from the Navy, Colonel Yang from the Special Forces. For decades, these people had planned for a war they hoped would never come. Now it was here. Dr. Bae Dong-hyuk opened his secure briefcase and spread classified documents across the table. As chief engineer of the Hidden Projects Division, he had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. The alien species believe humans are primitive. Dr. Bae said, they mock our simple weapons and basic technology. They think we are too peaceful to fight effectively. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The first document showed ship designs unlike anything in the known galaxy, human vessels built for war rather than exploration. The aliens used energy weapons and exotic matter drives. Human ships carried kinetic cannons and fusion reactors. Simple technology taken to its absolute limit. How many ships do we have ready? Admiral Choi asked. 200 combat vessels fully operational. Another 300 in the final construction phase at Titan Base. The aliens know about our exploration fleet, but they have never seen our warships. President Han studied the deployment maps. What about ground forces? Colonel Yang Mi-young smiled for the first time since the meeting began. The Ghost Battalion has been infiltrating alien worlds for 20 years. We know every weakness in their defenses, every blind spot in their sensors, every crack in their armor. The colonel activated a holographic display showing alien military installations. Red markers indicated critical vulnerabilities that human agents had identified and mapped. We have been very patient, Madam President. Some might say too patient, but patience allowed us to study our enemies completely. We know how they think, how they fight, how they break. Across the planet, similar scenes played out in every major city. Military bases that had seemed like museums suddenly came alive with activity. Weapons factories hidden beneath civilian buildings began full production. Volunteer registration centers opened to handle the flood of citizens ready to serve. On Asgard, prime farmer Kim Won-sik received the emergency broadcast while tending his crops. The images from New Busan appeared on his handheld communicator. Without hesitation, he walked to his house and retrieved the military gear he had hoped never to use again. His farming days were over. Dr. Park Yoon-ji was conducting research at the Lunar Science Station when the alert reached her laboratory. She looked at her equipment designed for peaceful exploration of alien biology. Within hours, she had converted everything into a weapons development facility. Science would serve war until peace returned. The transformation was happening everywhere humans lived. Teachers became tactical advisors. Engineers became weapons designers. Shopkeepers became supply officers. The galaxy had never seen an entire species mobilize for war so quickly and completely. Back in the war room, Admiral Choi was reviewing fleet positions with his senior staff. Captain Song commanded the 3rd Fleet near the border systems. Commander Kim led deep space reconnaissance. Admiral Park controlled the home defense squadrons. Sir, Captain Song's voice came through the secure communication system. Our scouts report massive alien fleet movements. They appear to be massing for an invasion of the inner colonies. Admiral Choi smiled grimly. Let them come, Captain. We have been preparing for this invasion for 50 years. Admiral Park, will you give us the current status of Operation Sleeping Dragon? On the main screen, Admiral Park's image appeared from Titan Base. Behind him, massive construction bays stretched into the distance. Human workers and automated systems were completing the final warships at incredible speed. Sir, all ships will be ready within 72 hours. The aliens expect a response similar to other conquered species. Formal protests followed by gradual submission. They have no concept of human determination when we decide to fight. Dr. Bay stood and activated another display. This one showed weapon specifications that would have been impossible to imagine just days ago. Railguns that could punch through any known armor. Fusion missiles with targeting systems the aliens could not detect or jam. Boarding equipment designed for zero-gravity combat in alien ship designs. The Hegemony Alliance has superior technology in many areas, Dr. Bay explained. But they have grown dependent on that technology. They cannot adapt when it fails. Human weapons are crude by their standards, but they are reliable and devastating. President Han listened to the reports with growing confidence. Admiral Choi, what is your assessment of our chances? The old admiral considered the question carefully. Madam President, for over a century we have studied alien military doctrine through our diplomatic missions. We understand their strategies better than they do. They fight to dominate. We fight to survive. That gives us advantages they cannot comprehend. Colonel Yang added, our ground forces train on Earth, which the aliens consider a death world. Our soldiers can fight in conditions that would kill most alien species. When we board their ships, they will face opponents they are not prepared for. The meeting continued for 6 hours. Every detail of the coming war was planned and reviewed. Supply lines, communication protocols, rules of engagement that would maintain human moral standards even in combat. As the sun set over Seoul, President Han stood to address her war council. Ladies and gentlemen, for over a century, humanity has been the galaxy's diplomats and peacekeepers. We have mediated conflicts and promoted understanding between species. That chapter of our history ends today. She looked at each face around the table. Tomorrow we begin a new chapter. We will show the galaxy what humans are capable of when forced to defend ourselves. We will fight with honor, but we will fight to win. The aliens wanted a war. Now they will have one. Admiral Choi was the last to leave the meeting. He paused at the door and looked back at the star charts covering the walls. Somewhere among those stars, human colonies were preparing for invasion. Children were saying goodbye to parents going to war. Families were hoping for a peace that seemed impossible. But the Admiral had learned something in his years of service. Sometimes the only way to achieve peace was to make war so terrible that no one wanted to fight again. The aliens had pushed humanity too far. Now they would discover what happened when a peaceful species decided to stop being peaceful. The sleeping dragon was awakening. The galaxy would never be the same. Commander Lim Sung-ho stood on the bridge of the Silent Thunder watching empty space through the main screen. His ship hung invisible in the darkness between stars. No alien sensor could detect them. Human stealth technology had been perfected, in secret for decades while the galaxy dismissed it as impossible. Commander Lieutenant Nam Hye-jin reported from the tactical station. Long-range sensors show the Vorthak celebration fleet exactly where intelligence predicted. 12 heavy cruisers and 40 escort vessels. They are broadcasting victory messages about New Busan. Lim felt anger burn cold in his chest. The aliens were celebrating the murder of millions of innocent humans. They had gathered their ships in the Kratos system like a pack of predators showing off their kill. Today, that celebration would end. Lieutenant Nam, plot firing solutions for all primary targets. Sergeant O, prepare boarding teams for capture operations. We have new rules of engagement from Fleet Command. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. These men and women had trained for this moment their entire careers. Human naval doctrine emphasized precision over brutality. Every shot would count. Every action would serve the greater mission. On the tactical display, the alien fleet spread out in a loose formation. They felt safe in their own territory. Their ships powered down non-essential systems. Many crew members were probably celebrating with alien alcohol and stories of their easy victory. Lieutenant Nam was only 26 years old, but her tactical genius had earned respect from veteran officers. Her fingers danced across the control systems as she calculated attack vectors and timing sequences. Commander, I have solutions locked on all primary targets. Recommend we begin with the command ships and work outward. Their communication systems will be down before they realize what is happening. Excellent work, Lieutenant. Sergeant O, are your Marines ready? Sergeant O Junsik checked his equipment one final time. His squad wore powered armor designed for fighting in alien ship environments. Their weapons were simple but deadly. Kinetic rounds that could punch through alien alloys like paper. Ready, Commander. My teams know the layout of every Vorthak ship design. We have studied their weaknesses for years. Once we board them, they will not be able to stop us. Lim activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the commander. We are about to engage the enemy fleet responsible for New Busan. Remember your training. Remember the innocent people who died. Make every shot count. The Silent Thunder moved through space like a ghost. Advanced human engines produced no energy signature that alien sensors could detect. The ship closed to optimal firing range without triggering a single alarm on the enemy vessels. Commander, the weapons officer reported, all kinetic batteries ready to fire. Missile tubes loaded and targeted. Lim took a deep breath. Once he gave the order, there would be no going back. Humanity would cross a line they had never crossed before. But the aliens had crossed that line first when they murdered New Busan. Fire. The Silent Thunder unleashed destruction like a force of nature. Kinetic rounds accelerated to incredible speeds, struck the alien command ship before it could raise shields. The simple metal slugs tore through advanced armor plating, as if it was not there. Human missiles followed the kinetic barrage. No exotic matter or energy weapons. Just fusion warheads guided by targeting systems that could track a moving target across light years. The aliens had never faced anything like them. The first Vorthak cruiser exploded in a ball of fire, then the second, then the third. In less than 2 minutes, the entire command structure of the alien fleet was destroyed. Lieutenant Nam, coordinate the next wave. Target their weapons systems but leave their engines intact. We need prisoners for intelligence gathering. The young tactical officer smiled grimly as she adjusted firing solutions. The aliens were finally responding to the attack. Their remaining ships tried to turn and fight, but human planning had anticipated every possible reaction. Alien plasma weapons fired desperately into empty space. The Silent Thunder had already moved to a new position. Human stealth technology made them invisible to enemy sensors. The aliens were shooting at ghosts. Lieutenant Nam's second barrage struck with surgical precision. Alien weapon systems exploded. Communication arrays went dark. The surviving ships found themselves crippled and blind. Sergeant O launched boarding operations. I want senior officers alive for questioning. The Marine teams launched from hidden bays in small assault craft. Like their mothership, these boats moved through space without detection. They attached to alien hulls and began cutting through armor with tools the aliens had never encountered. Sergeant O led the first boarding team into a Vorthak heavy cruiser. The alien corridor was designed for reptilian physiology. Narrow spaces and dim lighting that would give the home team advantages. But humans had evolved in environments the aliens considered impossibly harsh. Sergeant O and his Marines moved through the ship like unstoppable hunters. Their armor protected them from alien atmosphere. Their weapons cut down everything in their path. The Vorthak crew tried to resist. They fired their energy weapons at the human invaders. The sophisticated alien technology proved useless against human armor, designed to withstand conditions on Earth. Meanwhile, human kinetic weapons demonstrated their terrible simplicity. Every trigger pull sent metal death through alien bodies. No shields could stop them. No armor could turn them aside. The aliens discovered that sometimes the most advanced answer was the oldest one. Commander Sergeant O reported over the communication link. We have secured the bridge. Alien Admiral Thelkorvac is alive and requesting terms of surrender. Through the ship's communication system, the alien admiral's voice came across in broken human language. Fear made his words shake. Human commander, we yield. We surrender according to galactic law. We request mercy as outlined in the Warfare Accords. Lim stared at the tactical display showing the burning remains of the alien fleet. 12 ships completely destroyed. 28 ships crippled and captured. Not a single human vessel damaged. The aliens wanted mercy. The same mercy they had shown to the children of New Busan. Admiral Thelkorvac, this is Commander Lim of the Earth vessel Silent Thunder. You had your chance to surrender on New Busan. Those were civilians. This is war. The silence that followed was filled with the sound of alien ships burning in space. Across the galaxy, the news would spread quickly. The friendly humans who always chose diplomacy had chosen something else. Within 6 hours, reports reached every major alien capital. A human ship had appeared from nothing and destroyed an entire fleet in 17 minutes. Impossible technology, impossible tactics, impossible results. But the evidence burned in space for all to see. Admiral Choi received the battle report on Earth 12 hours later. He read Commander Lim's summary with growing satisfaction. Then he activated the fleet-wide communication system. All units, this is Fleet Command. First blood has been drawn. The enemy now knows we are serious. Phase 2 of Operation Sleeping Dragon begins immediately. Show them what humans can do when we stop being diplomatic. Across human space, dozens of ships like the Silent Thunder moved toward alien territory. Each one carried the same message written in fire and metal. The war had truly begun. General Yu Jae-sung stood in the command center on Titan Base, watching holographic displays of 12 different battlefields. 6 months had passed since the first human strike. The war had spread across 30 star systems. Everywhere the story was the same: human forces winning against impossible odds. General, his aide Colonel Kim reported, the Hegemony Alliance has pulled back from the Outer Rim entirely. They are consolidating their fleets around core worlds. Intelligence suggests they are preparing for a massive counterattack. Yu nodded as he studied the tactical maps. The aliens had learned that humans were not the weak species they had believed, but they still did not understand the full scope of their mistake. Colonel, what is the status of our ground operations on Proxima Station? Complete success, sir. Major Park's forces took the entire facility in 18 hours. The aliens abandoned their positions when they realized they could not fight humans in close quarters. The general smiled grimly. Human soldiers had been trained on Earth where the gravity and atmosphere would kill most alien species. When they fought in normal galactic conditions, they became unstoppable forces of nature. On the main screen, video feeds showed human Marines advancing through alien installations. The enemy had retreated to their strongest fortifications. It did not matter. Human engineering corps simply blasted through walls that were supposed to be impregnable. Dr. Shin Ye-rim entered the command center carrying a secure data pad. As head of the Biodefense Division, she had spent months developing countermeasures to alien biological weapons. The enemy kept trying to use diseases and toxins that would work against other species. They all failed against human immune systems. General, we have completed analysis of the latest hegemony bioweapons. Standard neutralization protocols are effective. Our medical teams have developed vaccines for their entire arsenal. Excellent work, Doctor. What about their new chemical agents? Useless against human physiology, sir. They designed these weapons for species that evolved in low-gravity environments with controlled atmospheres. Humans who grew up breathing Earth air and fighting Earth gravity are immune to most of their attacks. Across the galaxy, alien intelligence agencies struggled to understand their failures. Every weapon they deployed was quickly countered. Every strategy they attempted was anticipated and defeated. They did not realize that humanity had been studying them for over a century through diplomatic missions, Captain. Ko Min-ho received her orders while orbiting the contested world of Nexus Gate. Her ship, the Eternal Fury, was humanity's first true battleship revealed to the galaxy. Built in hidden shipyards using technology the aliens had dismissed as primitive. Captain, her tactical officer, Lieutenant Park, reported, alien fleet approaching. Long-range sensors show 87 ships, including 12 dreadnoughts. They appear to be the main hegemony battle fleet. Ko studied the odds without concern. Her ship was outnumbered but not outmatched. Human naval doctrine emphasized quality over quantity. One human vessel properly commanded could defeat dozens of enemy ships. Lieutenant, signal the other human ships in system. We will coordinate our attack to maximize damage. Remember, the aliens fight to conquer. We fight to survive. That gives us advantages they cannot comprehend. The Battle of Nexus Gate began when the alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace expecting an easy victory. They found 5 human ships waiting in formation. The aliens should have retreated immediately. Instead, they attacked with the overconfidence that had marked their species for generations. Captain Ko's ship opened fire first. Human kinetic weapons struck the leading alien dreadnought before its shields could activate. The massive vessel staggered under the impact. Its armor cracked. Atmosphere vented into space. Captain, Lieutenant Park announced with excitement. Direct hit on their command ship. Enemy formation is breaking apart, but the aliens had numbers on their side. They surrounded the human ships with overwhelming firepower. Energy weapons and exotic matter torpedoes filled space with deadly light. Ko watched her tactical display as enemy fire closed in. All ships maintain formation. Execute Pattern 7 on my mark. The human vessels moved with perfect coordination. They had trained together for years. Each captain knew exactly what the others would do. This level of teamwork was impossible for alien species who fought for individual glory. The Eternal Fury took heavy damage as enemy fire concentrated on the flagship. Hull breaches appeared on multiple decks. Fusion reactors operated beyond safe limits. The ship was dying but still fighting. Captain, the damage control officer reported, we cannot survive much more punishment. Recommend we withdraw to repair facilities. Ko looked at the tactical display one final time. 30 enemy ships remained operational. Her ship was critically damaged. The other human vessels were fighting desperately against impossible odds. But Nexus Gate controlled the primary hyperspace junction for this entire sector. If the aliens took it, they could cut off supply lines to 12 human colonies. Millions of innocent people would be at the mercy of an enemy that had already proven they had no mercy. All hands, this is the captain. We came here to hold this position. We will hold this position. Prepare for final maneuvers. Ko activated the ship-wide communication system. To all human ships in the sector, tell Earth we held the line. Tell the universe that humans keep their promises. The Eternal Fury turned toward the center of the alien formation. Its fusion reactors pushed beyond critical limits. Warning alarms filled the bridge with urgent sound. Lieutenant Park understood immediately. Captain, the reactor overload will destroy everything within 50 kilometers. I know, Lieutenant. That includes 30 alien warships and the hyperspace gate control station. Sometimes the only way to win is to make sure the enemy cannot win either. Ko's final message went out on all frequencies in simple human language. This is Captain Ko Min-ho of the Earthship Eternal Fury. We die so others may live. Remember us. The ship's fusion reactors reached critical mass and exploded with the force of a small star. The blast vaporized every alien vessel in the formation. It also destroyed the hyperspace gate and sealed off the sector to enemy reinforcements. On Earth, Admiral Choi received the battle report 6 hours later. Captain Ko and her crew were gone, but they had achieved their mission. The alien main battle fleet was destroyed. The strategic hyperspace junction was denied to the enemy. The Admiral activated the memorial wall in Fleet Command. Captain Ko's name joined hundreds of other heroes who had died to protect humanity. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. But more importantly, their sacrifice had achieved something the aliens never expected. Across the galaxy, neutral species watched human forces defeat superior numbers through courage and determination. The reputation of the Hegemony Alliance for invincibility was shattered forever. The war had reached its turning point. Humanity was no longer just defending itself. It was winning. Fleet Admiral Kang Sora walked through the corridors of the captured alien starbase that floated high above the Hegemony capital world. 2 years had transformed the galaxy beyond recognition. The war that was supposed to crush weak humanity had become their greatest triumph. Behind her marched a delegation of alien commanders who had once led armies against human worlds. Now they wore the symbols of surrender and waited to hear their fate. The corridors were lined with human marines standing at attention. Their presence alone was enough to make the alien prisoners nervous. Admiral, Ambassador Lee Hae-wan approached with a data tablet containing surrender agreements. The Vorthak High Council has signed all documents. General Krexmore will be transported to Earth for trial. The remaining military forces have been ordered to stand down across all systems. Kang nodded as they entered the Great Command Center. Holographic displays showed human ships patrolling every major star system that had once belonged to the Hegemony Alliance. The transformation had taken only 2 years, but the results were complete and total. The alien delegates were seated in chairs designed for their various physiologies. Some stood on multiple legs. Others floated in specialized atmosphere bubbles. A few required gravity adjustments just to remain conscious. All of them looked defeated and confused. Admiral Kang stood before them, speaking in clear, simple words that the translation systems rendered into dozens of languages. Representatives of the former Hegemony Alliance, your military forces are defeated. Your fleets are destroyed or captured. Your worlds are occupied. The war is over. A Vorthak commander raised his scaled hand. Human Admiral, we expected death or enslavement. Why do you offer terms instead of destruction? Because we are not you, Kang replied simply. We fight to protect life, not to destroy it. We fight to establish justice, not to seek revenge. You will understand this in time. Major Ryu Taimin entered the command center fresh from the surface of the Vorthak homeworld. His armor still bore marks from the final battle that had taken the alien capital city. Behind him walked Vorthak civilian leaders who had been liberated from their own oppressive government. Admiral, the homeworld is secure. Civilian casualties were minimal. Our forces maintained strict engagement protocols throughout the operation. No war crimes, no revenge killings. We fought by the rules even when the enemy did not. The Major's report contained details that shocked the alien delegates. Human forces had captured the most militaristic world in the galaxy, while treating prisoners with dignity and protecting civilians. It should have been impossible, but human discipline made it real. Dr. Shin Yerim arrived with her medical teams carrying supplies for alien wounded. Admiral, we have established field hospitals in 12 cities. Human doctors are treating enemy soldiers alongside civilians. Many of the wounded are surprised we are helping them. One alien delegate spoke up in confusion. You heal those who tried to kill you. This makes no sense by any military doctrine we understand. Kang smiled slightly. It makes perfect sense by human doctrine. The wounded are no longer combatants. They are patients who need care. This is how civilized beings behave. Across occupied alien worlds, similar scenes played out. Human administrators arrived not to exploit but to rebuild. Food shipments reached populations that had been starving under their own governments. Medical care became available to civilians who had never received it before. Schools opened for children who had been denied education. The psychological impact was devastating to hegemony morale. Alien soldiers began surrendering in mass numbers when they realized that human captivity offered better living conditions than service to their own leaders. Entire fleets defected to join what became known as the Liberation. Commander Park Ji-woo managed reconstruction efforts on a dozen occupied worlds from his headquarters on the mobile command station. His engineers worked alongside alien civilians to repair infrastructure that hegemony leaders had neglected for decades. Admiral, Commander Park reported via communication link, food production on the occupied worlds has increased 40%. Water purification systems are operational. Power grids have been upgraded. The local populations are beginning to understand that we came to liberate, not conquer. This was the aspect of human warfare that confused every military analyst in the galaxy. Human soldiers destroyed enemy military forces with ruthless efficiency, but they also brought doctors and teachers and engineers who immediately began improving conditions for occupied populations. Ambassador, Lee presented the formal peace terms to the assembled alien delegates. The document was surprisingly generous given humanity's total military victory. Complete military disarmament under human supervision, war crimes trials for leaders responsible for atrocities against civilians, full cooperation with reconstruction and reform efforts. In exchange, your species receive equal representation in the new galactic government and protection under human military forces. A insectoid delegate clicked its mandibles in their species equivalent of surprise. You offer us equality after we tried to enslave you. Why would you trust us? We do not trust you yet, Lee answered honestly, but we believe you can earn that trust through actions. Your children will grow up in a better galaxy than you created. That is worth the risk. General Crexmore was brought into the command center surrounded by human guards. The reptilian commander who had personally ordered the destruction of New Busan looked smaller somehow. His scales were dull. His eyes no longer held the cruel confidence they once showed. General Crexmore, Admiral Kang addressed him formally. You are charged with war crimes against humanity. You are accused of ordering the deaths of 2.3 million civilians. You will be transported to Earth to face trial. The general stared at her with something like disbelief. You intend to give me a trial, a fair trial with legal representation and evidence. You do not simply execute me for my crimes. That is correct, General. You will receive the same justice we provide to all beings under human law. You will have excellent lawyers. Evidence will be presented fairly. Witnesses will testify honestly. The verdict will be based on facts, not emotion. Crexmore looked around at the other alien delegates. Many of them had served under his command. All of them had feared his cruelty. I do not understand your species, human admiral. You have the power to do anything you want to us. Why do you choose justice over revenge? Admiral Kang considered her answer carefully. Because, General, the moment we abandon our principles to defeat you, we become you. We would win the war but lose what makes us human. That price is too high. The trial that followed became a model for how advanced civilization should handle war criminals. General Crexmore received outstanding legal counsel who fought hard for his defense. Prosecutors presented evidence with careful documentation. Witnesses from multiple species testified about events they had witnessed. The proceedings were broadcast across the galaxy, so all species could see how human justice worked. No torture to extract confessions, no show trials with predetermined outcomes, just careful examination of facts and application of law. When the verdict came after 3 months of testimony, General Crexmore was found guilty of crimes against sentient beings. The sentence was life imprisonment in a facility where he would receive proper care and humane treatment. No execution, no torture, just removal from society for the protection of others. The message resonated across every alien world. Humans maintained their principles even when dealing with the worst war criminals. They proved that strength and mercy were not opposites but partners in creating lasting peace. Major Ryu submitted his final operational report from the occupied Vorthak homeworld. Admiral, the transformation is remarkable. The population that celebrated New Busan's destruction now volunteers to help build memorial gardens for the victims. They have seen what real civilization looks like. Young Vorthak students attended schools where human teachers explained concepts like individual rights and representative government. Ideas that had been forbidden under the hegemony were now taught as fundamental principles. Children asked questions their parents had never been allowed to consider. Fleet Admiral Kang stood at the great windows overlooking the alien capital world. Human ships patrolled the sky, but they were guardians, not conquerors. Below on the surface, millions of beings were learning to live in freedom for the first time. Her aide approached with the final casualty reports. Human losses had been significant but far lower than projected. The enemy had lost millions of soldiers, but most had survived to surrender and receive fair treatment. Admiral President Park sends his congratulations. The war is effectively over. Remaining hegemony forces are surrendering across all sectors. The new galactic government will be established within 6 months. Kang nodded as she looked at the stars beyond the windows. Somewhere out there, Captain Ko Min-ho had died protecting a hyperspace gate. Sergeant Oh had fallen defending alien civilians from their own government. Hundreds of humans had given their lives not for conquest but for justice. Their sacrifice had purchased something beyond price. A galaxy where war criminals faced trial instead of triumph. Where occupied populations received care instead of exploitation. Where former enemies could become future friends. President Park Jin-ho stood before the Great Assembly Hall on Unity's Dawn Station, looking out at representatives from 137 different species. 5 years had passed since Ambassador Kim Tae-ho spoke the single word that changed everything. The galaxy that once dismissed humanity as too weak for real politics now looked to them for guidance and leadership. The Assembly Hall itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Built by workers from 40 species using techniques and materials from hundreds of worlds, it floated in neutral space as a symbol of what unified civilizations could achieve together. Fellow citizens of the galaxy, President Park began his address. We gather, today not as victors and defeated, but as equals working to build a better future for all sentient beings. In the front row sat Ambassador Kim Tae-ho, now elderly but still sharp in mind and spirit. The man who had delivered humanity's final diplomatic message had become a living legend. Children of dozens of species learned his story in their schools. His patience and wisdom were celebrated across the stars. Commander Song Yoo-jin entered the Security Operations Center adjacent to the main assembly hall. As head of the new Galactic Peace Force, she commanded a military organization unlike any the universe had seen before. Volunteers from 63 species served under human military doctrine and training. Commander, her tactical officer reported, all sectors remain peaceful. The Rigel border dispute was resolved through mediation yesterday. Both sides accepted the arbitration without military action. No threats above level 1 on the assessment scale. Song reviewed the peaceful galaxy that had seemed impossible just 5 years earlier. Her forces included former enemies working side by side. Forthex soldiers now protected human colonies they had once attacked. Insectoid warriors who had fought humans now served alongside them as brothers in arms. The transformation went deeper than just military cooperation. Former pirates had become traders. Slave soldiers had become free citizens. Warriors who knew only conquest had learned the satisfaction of building and protecting rather than destroying. Diplomat Nam Ki-young worked in the Constitutional Affairs Office reviewing proposed amendments to the Galactic Charter. As chief architect of what became known as the Human Accords, he had spent 4 years crafting the document that guaranteed rights for every sentient being. The Constitution was revolutionary by galactic standards. It established principles that most species had never considered. Freedom of thought and expression, protection from arbitrary imprisonment, the right to participate in government, education as a universal right for all children regardless of species or world of origin. Sir, his assistant announced, the Andromedan Confederation has submitted their formal application for Federation membership. They accept all constitutional provisions, including submission to the War Crimes Tribunal and peaceful resolution protocols. Nam smiled as he read the application. The Andromedans were a proud warrior culture who had initially rejected human leadership as beneath their dignity. Now they wanted to join the system that had brought unprecedented peace and prosperity to hundreds of worlds. On the world that was once New Busan, children played in gardens that had been built as living memorials. The planet had been completely restored but not forgotten. Where millions had died, now millions lived in harmony. Human children played beside young Vorthax and insectoid hatchlings and floating gas beings. Teacher Lee Min-jun watched his classroom working on a group project about galactic history. 26 students from 8 different species collaborated on understanding the war their parents had fought. The assignment was to explain how conflict could have been prevented. Teacher Lee, a small Vorthak girl, raised her clawed hand. My grandfather fought against humans in the war. He says he was wrong. Why did so many beings have to die before we learned to cooperate? Lee considered the question with the seriousness it deserved. Young one, your grandfather was brave enough to admit his mistakes and change. Many beings on all sides believed things that were not true. They thought other species were inferior or dangerous. The war taught us that we are all equally valuable and equally capable of good or evil. Similar conversations happened on thousands of worlds. Former enemies became neighbors. Children who might have grown up hating each other instead became friends. Teachers worked to ensure that the lessons of the war would prevent future conflicts. Dr. Shin Ye-rim directed the Galactic Health Organization from her headquarters on Titan Base. Her research teams included scientists from 29 species working together on problems that affected all biological life. Former weapons developers now created medicines and treatments. Her lead researcher announced, the universal cancer treatment has passed final trials. We can begin distribution to all member worlds next month. This will save millions of lives annually across dozens of species. The medical breakthrough would have been impossible without cooperation between species. Human immune system research combined with alien cellular biology and exotic matter physics from 3 other civilizations. Knowledge that had been hoarded was now shared for the benefit of all. Engineer Bae Dong-hyuk oversaw the construction of new starships in the orbital yards above Earth. These vessels were different from the warships that had won the conflict. They were designed for exploration and trade and scientific research. Their weapon systems were minimal and purely defensive. Chief Engineer, the construction foreman, reported, the first of the new Explorer-class ships will launch next week. 12 more are in various stages of completion. Each crew will be mixed species as per the integration protocols. The new ships represented humanity's vision for the future. Not conquest but discovery. Not domination but cooperation. Young people from dozens of worlds volunteered to serve together exploring unknown regions of space. In the evening, President Park walked through the memorial section where names of every being who died in the war were carved into black stone walls. Human names mixed with alien names. Soldiers beside civilians. Enemy and ally together in death as they now were in peace. Ambassador Kim joined him beside the memorial to Captain Ko Min-ho. The woman who sacrificed her ship to hold Nexus Gate had become a symbol recognized across the galaxy. Her final words were taught to children of every species as an example of duty and courage. Mr. President, Kim said quietly, do you believe we made the right choices during the war? Park looked through the great windows at ships from dozens of species working together on peaceful missions. Space stations where former enemies lived side by side. Worlds where children played together without knowing the hatreds their parents had overcome. Ambassador, when you sat across from General Crexmore and said enough, you ended a century of human patience. That word began a transformation that reached every corner of known space. We fought when we had to fight. We showed mercy when we could show mercy. We never stopped being human even in the darkest hours. Yes, we made the right choices. The old diplomat nodded slowly. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if we had continued trying to negotiate. The hegemony would have grown stronger and more cruel. More worlds would have fallen. More innocent beings would have suffered. Sometimes, Mr. Ambassador, peace requires the courage to fight for it. You had that courage when it mattered most. In his office, President Park recorded his monthly address to the citizens of Earth and the Federation. His words would be heard by billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. My fellow citizens, 5 years ago, we were forced into a war we did not want. We fought that war with honor and determination. We defeated those who would enslave us and oppress others. But more importantly, we proved that strength and morality are not enemies but partners. He paused to look at images from across the galaxy. Children learning in integrated schools. Scientists collaborating on research. Artists creating beauty that transcended species boundaries. Families of different forms living as neighbors and friends. The galaxy learned something important about humanity during those terrible years. They learned that we would fight when necessary, that we would sacrifice when required, that we would never surrender our principles even when surrendering them might have been easier. We remained human throughout the war, and that made all the difference. On Unity's Dawn Station, the night shift began their work. Human officers collaborated with alien colleagues in perfect harmony. Former enemies shared meals and told stories. Young beings trained together for futures that their parents could never have imagined. Ambassador Kim made his final rounds through the diplomatic quarters. He was old now and his steps were slower, but his mind remained sharp. He visited representatives from worlds that had once been bitter enemies. Now they worked together on problems that affected all civilizations. Outside the great windows of the station, stars shone on a transformed galaxy. Ships bearing the symbol of the Terran Galactic Federation explored unknown regions. Scientists pushed the boundaries of knowledge. Artists created works that brought joy to billions. The war was over. The peace was real and growing stronger each day. Humanity had quit being friendly when friendship enabled evil. They had said enough when enough became too much. They had fought with everything they possessed while never losing what made them human.